guys, how y'all doing today? My name is Franchise Fanatic, and welcome back to the channel. And today, if you guys, is another Marvel movie review now, but hang on there, don't get too crazy on me here. We are doing Civil War, okay, that's still happening, right? I'm still reviewing my MCU reviews, but today when I say Marvel, we're taking a bit of a break from the MCU, and we're instead going to an animated movie. That's right, we're tackling, not the new one. I actually, at the time of seeing this on June 26th, I actually just saw Across the Spider-Verse, but today we're tackling the first one, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. So if you enjoy this review, if you like these kind of stuff, if you enjoy the LEGO Marvel 2 gameplay, whatever, if you enjoy my content, if you enjoy my channel, make sure to leave a like, subscribe if you're new. I'm banking on getting to 2,000 hopefully before the end of the year. I don't know if that's possible, but I know you guys can do it. Anyway, thank you for all your support. Let's do this. So I have seen Into the Spider-Verse. I saw it one time in theaters, and I remember actually going getting that announcement. I was actually in high school in my, I think it was a digital photography class, and I was working on a tribute, which is what coincidentally gave me the opportunity to make a tribute, and then that was, my passion, and hey, I'll start a YouTube channel, so that's cool. But in my class, one of my buddies, he was like, hey, dude, you gotta see this freaking trailer. I'm like, oh, what is it? New Spider-Man movie. Oh, cool. Oh, it's animated? Wow! And then I saw the trailer and I said, wow, that's really cool. And I saw it once in theaters. I remember liking it, but I was never like, oh man, this is the best thing ever. You know, this movie, Into and Across the Spider-Verse, seemed to me like eye candy. But at the same time, I feel like if you're like a really hardcore art student, like if you actually go to an art school specifically for that, this is like, it's like F&I explosions. It's like the best thing in the world, right? You're going to love it. For the average moviegoer, it could become a little annoying. But before we get into that, I do want to say that, yes, upon my rewatch of Into the Spider-Verse, I did really, really enjoy the movie. After the first time in theaters, I was like, oh, it was good. I liked it. But that was obviously a long time ago, and B, I didn't have my glasses, so I was borderline effing blind. So that wasn't very good. But upon rewatch yesterday with my glasses, I have to say that it was a very damn good movie. I mean, it's not perfect, but it's a very, very well-told and well-made Spider-Man film. And I know the whole, it's animated. First of all, we know this, hopefully smart people will, difference between a kid's film, an adult film, and an animated film, right? This is 100% not a kid's film. It is definitely animated. Now, when I mean, oh, no shit, it's animated, but what I mean is that, it's a broad appeal, right? It's not just for kids, and it's not just for teens, and it's not just for adults. It's for everyone. Now, I wouldn't say, advise a little kid, maybe someone above 8 or maybe even 10 to see it, because it is brutal. People get shot. There's a lot of action. There's a little bit of blood. There's a little bit of cursing. Nothing obviously too crazy, but there are swear words in it, even though they're mild. There's some sex jokes, little innuendo stuff, so it's definitely not like a toddler movie. But as a massive Marvel fan and a massive Spider-Man fan of the comics, of the video games, of the live-action movies, the animated shows, what have you, I really enjoyed this rewatch, and seeing a new Spider-Man, right? Because we get Peter B. Parker, right? And this is of course like the beginning of the Spider-Verse or the multiverse for Spider people, and we see Peter Parker, the white guy. We see Gwen Stacy, which Peter called Gwanda. We've got of course Miles Morales, the first Black Spider-Man, which is really cool. And no, that's not woke because he is a well-established character. He's a very well-written character, especially in this film. There really isn't anything woke in this film, which is great. This was, I think, before all that crap started, and it's just a really well-made film. I mean, the animation will start off. This, just in terms of the animation quality itself, discarding that whatever, just the animation itself, I mean, it's flawless. I mean, to a degree, it's flawless. I have one little issue with it, but, when I think of the best animated movies ever in terms of their animation quality, I think of stuff like Rise of the Guardians is great looking, The Adventures of Tintin, motion capture, right? You got the Lego movies, all 4 of those, right? The way they made the Lego movies is amazing. Like, if you got a random hobo or something off the street and said, this is stop motion, they would say, wow, how long did that take? 1,000 years? I thought it was stop motion. You know what I mean? So the Lego movies are in a class all of their own. And I'm not saying that because I love Lego as an adult. It's objectively well made, those films, at least in terms of their animation. And then you wind yourself at this. I'm sure there's some others I'm missing, but, you know, this one has a very distinct look. It looks like a comic book come to life, but there is an issue with it, and it was actually one of my biggest issues for Across the Spider-Verse, which is a review coming very soon after this, is that this film, while it is stylized and it looks really effing cool, really unique, you can see the individual comic book-ish panels, you know, little circles or whatever you want to call that, right? It looks like a comic book, but in motion. There is a lot of action in this film, and the action is very well choreographed. It looks effing great. It's very high octane. It's very action-packed, very brutal, very intense, and very awesome. But at the same time, when you have this style of animation, and they're constantly changing animation, right? You get Miles Morales, who is different than, say, Penny Parker or Peter Porker or whoever his name is, versus that, you know, with Kingpin and, you know, all the crazy distortion effects and all that. You know that scene from The Incredibles 2 where Screenslaver is fighting Elastigirl in that apartment, and people are like, oh, you know, this film will give you seizures, you know, epilepsy warning. No, I don't have epilepsy, okay? I've never had a seizure in my life. I don't plan on having one. But at the same time, watching The Incredibles 2 was a challenge for like 1 second, right? I mean, there's a shit ton of blinking white lights, right? Lego Star Wars, the Skywalker Saga, that game had it. I call it sky flickering. The sky in that game literally flickers like, you know, Exegol from the sequels? It's like that, but like not intentional. It looks like death. This film has some of that, where it's not blinking white lights, but there's a lot of different flashing lights, and there's action, and people are running around, and there's so much visual eye candy to look at least in this film. It wasn't as bad as the sequel, but in Into the Spider-Verse, it does feel like noise. And I don't mean noise that you hear. Yeah, I mean noise that you see. It took me a minute. Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, do you hear noise? Yeah, you do. I almost said smell it, but you don't smell noise. Visual noise is a filmography term that either I'm making up or I've heard in the deep web somewhere of the online recesses of time, where basically visual noise is something that is too much to look at, and it can become noise, right? It can become something that's just sound, right? It's just like a toddler banging on pots and pans just for the hell of it, you know? Just any kind of random noise that is very annoying to hear. This could get annoying to look at, right? There's so much going on, and there's so many colors that it can sometimes feel a little bit degrading and a little bit, I guess, grinding in a sense. You know, it can feel almost annoying in a sense. I don't feel that as much with this one, but it is a little bit there. I'm watching it and I'm like, alright, there's bright lights, and there's people talking, and there's action, and it just feels too much sometimes. It feels too intense, and it feels like you have to pause the damn movie so that you can actually comprehend not only what's going on, but so you don't have a friggin' heart attack, because there's so much going on. Now, I'm 24 years old. I'm not a boomer. I'm also not a zoomer. I think I'm in that middle ground. Now, I'm not a kid. Obviously, as I said, I'm 24. I think a kid, I wouldn't advise a kid to watch this. Again, I'm not your parents, but if I was a parent, you know, I would say, hey, maybe hold off on this, you know, just the violence and the swearing and whatever. But in terms of this, it does feel at times like, wow, you know, a kid might not feel nothing, but as me, you know, to compare it to the Lego movies again, when I watch those 4 Lego movies, there's, you know, especially Lego Movie and Lego Batman movie, there's a butt ton of stuff happening in those 2 movies, and you know, that could have become visual noise, but it's not, because they handle the comedy well, and there's not too much to look at where, you know, you feel like you have to, you know, it's not like crazy flashing lights, or they're changing comic styles on the fly, or what have you. There's little text bubbles every 5 seconds, and you have to look at it in 1 second, or else they just cut away and you miss whatever the F they were saying. The Lego movies strike the balance perfectly. This film has a little bit of trouble with that. They're trying to get that sense of, oh man, there's a lot of action happening, and there is, you know, all this, you know, comic panel stuff, and there's words flying across the screen, and it's just, a lot of it is played for humor, and it is funny, but again, it came very close to being that visual noise where I had to kind of almost I had to take a deep breath, be like, okay, what the fudge is happening? You know what I mean? And again, I'm not trying to sound like I'm an old-timer who can't process lights and sounds, but at the same time, there were moments where it was like, wow, this is a little too chaotic. But that is really the only negative, and I talked about it so much because I felt like this is the biggest negative of the film. Everything else is essentially a big positive. I mean, hell, stuff that Sony did with this, I'm not the biggest fan of Tobey Maguire movies. I'm not, I enjoy the Andrew Garfield films, but this film, I mean, it's better than Andrew and Toby and Morbius and freaking Venom. It's, in my opinion, it's better than all of those combined. I do think that the Tom Holland MCU Spider-Man trilogy is still better, but in terms of the storytelling, Into the Spider-Verse, man, it's friggin' awesome. Miles Morales is a very well-written character. The voice acting is great across the board from everyone. It is very sad and dark at times, and I think that's a necessity because it has to be that way for you to actually, understand why not only Peter B. Parker, but also Gwen and also Miles, what they're doing and what they're dealing with. And, if there was no gravity in that sense, you'd feel like, oh, this is nothing. But at the same time, it is a very well-written film in that aspect. And there are funny moments. I do think that, actually seeing Across the Spider-Verse, if I had to compare the two without getting into spoilers, and again, I'm going to do my own separate review on that one. This film felt funnier. There were more jokes, and it was definitely a little bit lighthearted than Across the Spider-Verse, but this one did have some dark moments. The writing for Kingpin was really cool. The backstories are really nice. Seeing all the Spider-Verse and the multiverse aspects didn't feel contrived, or it didn't feel, we just gotta have, we gotta have all these effing cameos for no reason. Everyone that was in this film had a purpose. You look at freaking Penny Parker or Peter Porker or Spider-Man Noir even. Those characters aren't necessarily as well written as, say, Miles, Gwen, or Peter Parker, but at the same time, they don't feel like they're just there to be there, right? They have an aspect and they have a sort of force to them where they carry the film in really unique ways. And then you get to, some of the weird stuff, which, is the Prowler, which again, I'm spoiling it. It's, I don't know, 2018 it came out in, so sorry. But yeah, Uncle Aaron is, of course, Miles' uncle. He turns out to be the Prowler, which is one of the most badass costumes I've ever seen in my entire life. That thing looks effing cool, man. That's sick. I have read a comic with the Prowler in it. I have a big Marvel encyclopedia, so that's cool. So I know a little bit about these characters. But to see, Miles' backstory of him kind of bonding with his uncle, which I think this isn't a negative, and I'm not going to dock it points for this because it's not a film. It's not a fault with the film, but it is a bit weird. And I know it's not a kids movie, but kids did see this, and kids will watch this because kids like Spider-Man. It is a bit weird to see Miles Morales like bonding with his uncle by like illegally graffitiing in a. I don't. Oh, it's an abandoned. No, bullcrap. All right, it's still illegal, right? It's wrong. You look at in real life, you see graffiti all over the train stations or whatever the hell they're doing there. Sure, some of it looks pretty cool. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, but it's a bit cringy. I did cringe a bit when it's like bonding time and they're like graffitiing. I don't know, kind of weird. And then of course they glorify it by playing this, badass rap music, and it's just kind of weird. It's kind of cringy. I don't like. Again, that's not a negative. It's not like, oh, the music was, the music glitched, or so it's not like a film fault. Just for me personally, I wouldn't say bonding with my uncle doing graffiti in an abandoned, it's just kind of weird. The fact they glorify it with the music, it's a bit weird. But again, that's not a negative. It's just a little gripe I had personally. But it is cool to see that he kind of feels betrayed. Of course, Prowler does die, and that's kind of his Uncle Ben moment, so to speak. And then you get all these crazy cameos. You get Doc Ock as a girl, which is really funny. Of course, there's a crap ton of memes that came from that. But overall, man, like I said, the story with Kingpin is good. His motivation is good. The animation is fantastic when it's not feeling like it's, lights and colors and different animation styles are like bombarding your eyes and can kind of feel a bit too much. But I enjoyed the animation for the most part. I enjoyed the comedy. I enjoyed the writing. The music was all right. Again, I don't like that style of music. But it's not like objectively bad. I just don't like that style of music. But it fit the characters, it fit the mood, it fit the atmosphere and all that. Again, it does kind of leave off in a pretty good way, I guess. Miles is kind of into his own. He kind of gets his own suit at the end, and of course the film ends with Gwen kind of coming back from the multiverse and be like, hey, you wanna go hang out? Gwen, man, I don't care that she's animated, bro. She's fine as hell. But anyway, I guess that's another personal thing. But yeah, so the movie does end with a post-credit scene of Miguel O'Hara, Spider-Man 2099, which you're probably seeing in this gameplay video. It's funny, Lego Marvel 2 is like the perfect Into the Spider-Verse game. You know, you got freaking everyone. The hub world, Chronopolis is there, so yeah, it's a pretty cool game to play. But overall, man, upon rewatch, it's a really, really, really good movie. The negatives aren't that bad, but they are there. Like I said, the graffiti thing is just a personal thing that's not going to be pegged down in the score. The only thing that will impact the score is that, again, visual noise I described, where sometimes it can feel a bit too much to look at, and it's overly chaotic. Again, it's actually worse in the new one, but you know, in this one it's not as bad, but it's just something to take note of. But yeah, man, the animation is great for the most part. The voice acting is good. The plot is really good. There's nothing cringy, no bad acting like the Sam Raimi movies. There's no overly contrived bullcrap like in Amazing Spider-Man 2. It's just a genuinely well-made Spider-Man movie, and it's easily like you know, after Homecoming, Far From Home, and No Way Home, this one is easily there. I mean, it's like top tier Marvel. It's crazy. I do think it's a bit overhyped. I think the whole internet kind of freaked out because of the animation style, and yes, it is objectively a well animated film. Like, it looks really freaking good for the most part, but at the same time, I feel if this was animated like you know, a DreamWorks or a Pixar film, it maybe wouldn't have that high regard that it does. Again, I just have a feeling a lot of these, you know, artsy students, you know, are like, oh, wow, this is very well animated, yes. And then there's, like, people that, you know, because I didn't have a YouTube channel when this came out, you know, so I was like, oh, it's a good movie. But actually, upon, you know, reviewing it, I had a great time. And again, I think it's really, really fun. A genuinely great story, great action. I mean, everything about this works. Except for, like, you know, like I said, the visual noise. But take that away, I mean, it's almost a flawless Spider-Man film. I mean, it's up there with the greats, man. It's a fantastic movie, and I really, really love it upon this rewatch. So I'm going to give Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, I'm going to give it an A-. Again, the visual noise isn't as bad as Across, which I'll get into in my official review for that coming up very soon. But tell me in the comments down below what you think about this review, and what are your thoughts on Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Do not ruin Across. I know I've already seen it, but for those who haven't, and they're watching this one first, I don't want them to get ruined in the comments. So you can spoil Into the Spider-Verse, right? That's been out for many years, so say what the fudge you want, all right? That's cool. But, yeah, man, I had a great time reviewing this film, watching it. Again, basically, I think this is only my second time seeing it. But, yeah, man, I really enjoyed it. It's a really great Spider-Man movie. One or two faults here or there, one or two cringy moments here or there, but overall, man, it's a great ride. Really, really fun, and just a really classic, good, well-written, well-acted, well-animated, great action scenes. It's really everything you want from a Spider-Man movie, and more. So, hope you guys enjoyed this review. I can't wait to cover Across the Spider-Verse very, very soon. Thank you guys, and we'll see you in the next video.